Yeah. So it is the third week of February. Wow. What have you done so far? I already celebrated 2 New Years, a regular, our New Year and a Lunar New Year. So, and this is the month of love. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of love to go around. And today we have another love expert, Sherri Leopold. It's going to share with us how we should love ourselves. This is one of the topic that we keep circling back. And I was reading your title. It's like, how do we do when the bully is you? I've been
That's
singing that.
right. That's
What do
right.
you do when the bully is you?
What do you do? You got to
I
learn how to
know.
love
Yeah,
you,
right.
right?
We're gonna talk about that, and that's what Sherri wrote a book, and it's called "Stop Bullying"
It's
or
self-bullying, what to do
"Self-Bullying."
when the
Yep.
bully is you.
Yep. What do you do when the bully is you? So knock it off. But we're gonna get deep into it. And thank you, Sherri, for being here and show us how to stop us from bullying ourselves.
Absolutely. It is my honor and pleasure to be here with you, amazing ladies. Thank you for the opportunity.
Oh yeah, we are so glad. We are so glad. And Sarah even bought a new house just to welcome you.
Yeah,
The virtual world's so beautiful, isn't it?
I know. It's like I wanna be in that infinity pool and looking out to the ocean. That's
Me
not a
too.
bad place to be. Yeah, maybe she's gonna have to do an open house for that.
Yes. I'll conduct a self-love seminar from the infinity pool. It'll
I
be
know,
great.
yeah, right? But all kidding aside, we are so glad it's 5 o'clock on the dot, and we are opening our conversation as always, Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday. And we have wonderful, wonderful guests who come to share with us their story, their wisdom, their knowledge, their passion, their mission. Um, Everything that you have a thriving story, we would love to hear it and we would love to share it with our audience.
yeah.
So, as always, we begin with our little introduction before who we are, what we about before we get to our guests. So, I would like Sarah. Hi, Sarah. How are you?
Hey, good.
Okay. So, would you introduce to our audience if they have not ever come to our show? Who are we and why are we here?
Of course, it's my pleasure. It's my pleasure to welcome our guests. You know what? We are very grateful to have guests because without guests, Lee and I, we had to do all the talking.
I don't mind that, but sometimes it is like, oh my God, I'm running out of things to say too. And that is really rare, but I do have sometimes that I'm get blocked. So it's good to have guests. Yes.
Anyway, so let me go ahead and introduce myself. I'm Sarah M. I grew up in Cambodia. I start my life beautiful in my childhood. I I was a farmer's kid, so I enjoyed the natural lifestyle in the countryside. And then I had an opportunity to attend college. Guess what? College is not in the countryside; it's in the big city. So I had to leave home and go there. When while I was in college, the horrible thing happened to our country, and you probably guess what happened. The Khmer Rouge communists took over our country in 1975, and they cut down all the road, on the communication, and everything. And I had no way home. I got stuck, and I got pushed to get out from the city, and I end up in the work camp, in the forced labor camp. I struggled through that lifestyle. It's not really a lifestyle. It's the hard labor that nobody ever dreamed that it can happen to Cambodia. So here I am, struggled, fighting for my life. struggled with so many disease and about to die many times. But I'm grateful that I survived with all this struggle. I'm still here, and I'm here to say that never give up. No matter how hard our life is, you keep that hope going, and you will find that the dream that you ever dream of. So I'm here to tell you the good news. The good news is I'm still here. I'm still alive. And I wrote my journey in my book. It's called How I Survived the Killing Fields, a story of hope, love, and determination. You can find my book on my website, sarahim.com. And I'm also going out to speak to give inspiration to our community. So if you ever need a speaker, you can reach out to me or to Lee. We both can help you with that. So that's all I want to say today.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you. That is an incredible story of a refugee's life. And I too came from a refugee background, but I think two of us is just a tiny, tiny grain of sand in the oceans of suffering refugees that people have to run away from their home. No any reason, just because they want to live free. They want to have some freedom. And my family escaped out of Vietnam in the same time, 1979, but we also experienced some really hardship under the communist regime for 4 years. And we also escaped out to the oceans, got assaulted by pirates 4 times out in the sea, drifting aimlessly with a broken engine, with the boat loaded with 502 people, and just waiting for the waves to swallow us. But miracles do happen. God do love us, and we were granted for a second chance. So for the second chance, that when we came to America, there's many times I feel very resented. I appreciate every single situation. I resented who I was, where I came from, and the disadvantage that I had to face moving forward, not just for me, but to help my family. So there was a lot of self loaded type of thing. February is a month of love, and we wouldn't want to talk about how we can actually love ourselves. And for a period of time, I was not happy with who I was. And I was not really want to know the girl that I once were. I tried to step away from my own culture, from my own tradition, so to speak. I want to be everybody else but me. And that is a form of bullying. In a sense, it's passive aggressive. And many times we think that we love ourselves, but we really don't, until the moment that you realize that you can embrace yourself. That's how you can actually accepting yourself and love yourself. And I find it so appropriate when Sherri told me that she wrote a book called What Do You Do When the Bully Is You? Yes. And we have all those syndrome. I can't claim it all mine. I'm sure yes, you out there has it too. You have it too. Yes.
As I always say, no one's immune.
Exactly. I don't care you say that how much you love yourself, but you have moments that you are really nasty and mean to yourself. So I made a lot of peace with myself, embracing my roots, wrote a book about it, tell it all on TEDx stage, be super vulnerable. And now I am here with Sarah to broadcast it to the world about our mistakes, our misery, that we thought we're the worst. We didn't know any better. And we have experts. We have people who have studied on that to come on. So Sherri, welcome so much. So welcome to have you, and I'm just thrilled to hear more about the book. And I think I'm gonna go on and get the book eventually. I got a stack
Thank
of
you.
book to catch up, but
Me too.
yeah. You are one of the books that is on my list. Eventually, I will get to it. But
Oh,
please
awesome.
tell us exactly, who you are and why do you come up with that book title, and why
Sure.
is that your field of expertise?
You know, it's interesting how it came about because I was not, I had just collaborated on my first book, but it was a story of personal triumph that I had gone through. So that was sort of the precursor of it, but it wasn't, at the time, I didn't think it was related, but I had a conversation with a friend of mine, and she was really down on herself, and I was known for coaching her through that and saying, put down the bat, which is what's on the
Mm,
front cover. Because
yeah.
and she said, what does that mean? I said, because you're beating yourself up with it. So I would just have that saying that I would say to her, put the bat down. So she would text me sometimes and say, I put the bat down, and I'd be like cheering for her. But she was at my house and she was really having a down moment, and she was divorced, and she had been in a relationship with somebody for a few years who was very non-committal. She had a heart attack at like 42. So she had a lot of things that were weighed very heavy emotionally, right? And she was kind of upset about the dynamic of that relationship, and she wasn't getting out of it what she wanted. And she was sitting on my floor, and I just will never forget this conversation, because I was sitting in the chair and she was sitting on the floor, and I looked at her and she made this face like this. She went, and she didn't say anything out loud, but I said to her, why did you say that
Hmm.
to yourself? And she
Body
said,
language give out a lot, don't you
I know.
think?
She said, what? I didn't say anything. And I said,
Hmm.
you mean you didn't just say to yourself, I'm always going to be alone. I guess this is just the way it is. I'm broke. I'm always going to be by myself. I'm just never going to be happy. And she looked at me and her eyes were huge, and she went, wow. And I said, did you think that you needed to say that out loud for me to be able to hear that? And she said, wow. So I felt so much weight from what
Hmm.
she was giving off that
Hmm.
we went for a walk together. We sort of talked through it and stuff like that. And so that was sort of the precursor to where the book came from. I didn't know the two were going to be related, but the next day I'd gone to a networking event, and it was on my way there. And I was driving in the car, and I actually heard on the radio that Anthony Bourdain had committed suicide.
Yeah,
It was only 3 days after Kate Spade.
I know.
And I said, oh my God, this has to stop. I turned the radio off. I was in complete silence. And I was like, all I could see was my friend's face the night before.
Mm,
And I was like, now she wasn't saying anything to me that was
right.
indicating that that's where she was. But I started thinking, I'm like, well, what's going to stop me from getting the call that she made that choice? She worked a retail job. She was divorced. She had, poor health at a very young age, really, a tumultuous relationship with her children. And I'm just like, she has all these obstacles, right? And they had their dream jobs. They have more money they could ever spend in a lifetime already at their ages. They checked out. And I was like, felt very panicky, actually. And I was like, I don't understand. I'm like, what's the difference between her and them? She's got way more obstacles than they did, and they still checked out. And I was like, I just kept thinking this has to stop, and this urgent need to do something, right?
Right.
And I was like, but what do? I share a nutritional supplement for my job. Like, right. I'm like, I share the Thrive experience. I'm like, I don't know what I can do. Like, and so I thought, I'll write a book, you know, maybe I can write a book. And I was like, I don't know what it would be, but I was like, started to think about what's the common denominator with these people.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, they're so different than her. And I was like, it occurred to me that it was what they were saying to themselves about themselves, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, it's self-bullying. That's what it is. I'm like, that's what they're doing to themselves. They cannot stop the run on repeat negative, you know, self-talk. And I'm like, and the thing was funny is I didn't think about this till way later, is I asked my friend when we were out walking, would you ever say that to me? You're always going to be broke. You know, you're always going to be alone. Nobody's going to love you.
Right.
And she got these huge eyes like,
Like,
no.
no
And I'm like,
way.
why? And she said, because that would be mean. I'm like,
Exactly.
that would be horrible. And I was like, well, why is it okay to say it to yourself then? Can you not love yourself enough not to say that? And she was like, I was like, yeah, that's the thing. You think it's okay to say it to yourself, but you would never dream of saying it to me. That was where I think that whole thing, that whole self-bullying, what
Yeah.
to do when the bully is you. Like, we need some tools. We need to be equipped to deal with this crap, if you will, that floats through our consciousness all the time. And we're barraged and just soaked in a society where we're constantly feeling like we're comparing ourselves to other people, to other people's journeys. I don't sell enough books. I don't have a big enough business. I'm not moving fast enough. I'm not
Right.
skinny enough. I'm not pretty enough. I'm not whatever. And so it's like the playground of self-bullying. I mean, it just, everything is ripe and perfectly set to do it.
Yeah.
And as women, men do it too, but as women, we, unfortunately, I write about this in the book, about the camaraderie that comes with it, because I could say, oh, I just went to Mexico, which I did. I'm like, oh, you know, people say I wouldn't be caught dead in a swimsuit, or, you know, I would never wear a bikini. People would be laughing for days, you know, I mean, or something like that. And they'd be like, wait, and we'd like laugh and go, oh, I know, me too. And that's the thing. We're like encouraging each other in this really bad, destructive behavior pattern. We're so used to it. You can watch any television show, and once you're aware of what self-bullying sounds like, you'll pick it out in every show, every single one, especially the sitcoms.
Yes.
Yeah,
And I want to say that there's a couple of things that struck out. Your cover, the bat, the baseball bat, it is such a visual image, and it really is something that we are doing to ourselves constantly. We bruise ourselves all the time with that bat, and we don't even know it.
Yeah. And see,
And
one of the reasons that I chose the bat was, and I made this up. I will tell you, when I wrote the book and I got the idea, I always say, when I said, oh my God, he showed up in the passenger seat and started talking in my head, right? Because I didn't know I was going to do this. And but I had said many times to my friend, put the bat down. But somehow that just settled into
yeah,
my consciousness. I'm like, this is what this is. So we're beating ourselves with these words. So here's the thing. Sometimes you get bullied first, but you only get bullied the one time. So if I say to you, you know, Leah, you're ridiculous, or I don't know what you think you're doing,
yeah,
going out here speaking and all of that, and you think, oh my gosh, and you're like, ugh. But when you then go tell Sarah, and you tell me, and you call your mom, and you call your sister, and you call your best friend, that's on you, because they pick the bat up. Everybody has a bat. This is what my theory is. And we all have a bat at our feet. We find out that it's there at about age 3 or so.
Yeah.
And people put words on it. You're silly,
Right.
you're funny looking, you're a refugee, you're an immigrant, you're, you know, whatever words somebody's putting
Right.
on it that they want to throw a negative connotation to it.
Yeah.
And there it is on the bat. You pick it up and then you go tell somebody, say, you know what they said to me or what they did to me? But that's you repeating what the bullying, right? So they're done. They've gone on and they dropped the bat. They just leave the words on it, which is why there's words on the bat. They walk away. You do the work for them, pick it up and tell people and just keep smacking yourself with it. That's where the self-bullying is. You're doing it to yourself. If somebody says to you, for example, I'll give you an example that actually happened to me way back when I was in just right after high school. Some gentleman, I use that term loosely, commented on the size of my thighs, like I was in a public restaurant. And I can't actually repeat totally what I said, but I said, I didn't grow them for you.
Love it.
And I walked out. I might have said something colorful attached to that. Just saying, PG show. But his face was like this, and all of his buddies at the table started laughing. And I walked out with my friend, and she's like, she was afraid they were going to come after us. I said, well, I have 3 older brothers. I grew up with, I dare them. You know, I'm like, I ain't taking that. I didn't ask him. They weren't for him. You know, so, but the thing is, I could have taken that. See, I could have said, oh, my thighs are horrible and I worry about them constantly. I could have internalized that, but to me, they were mine. Like I was okay with how I looked, right? So like, I didn't take that, you know, and tell every person, you know, even telling you now, that's still, I'm using it as an illustration, of course,
Right.
but if I ruminate about it and I keep letting it run on repeat, that's just striking myself again and again and again, right? Like I'm less than, it's not perfect. Nobody likes it. There's people that think it's bad, you know, or I'm not pretty, or, you know, whatever length we carry it to. And so I think it's really important to make sure if you note it, like on the book, on the front cover, there's 1 foot on the bat. And on the back cover, there are 2 feet on the bat. So I talk about in there about that's a process. When we become aware of it, which is part of what I call becoming an ace, becoming aware so that you can change the behavior, so that you can evolve and do it less, right? You're never going to be totally absolved from it. But that awareness goes a long way in stopping yourself from repeatedly doing it. And when you're aware of it, you can help other people be aware of it as well. So that bat, that 1 foot, is if I was standing on that bat with 1 foot and you tried to pick it up, or I tried to pick it up, it would be harder to do it. It would be more of an effort, right?
Nip it in the bud, right?
Right. But when I put both feet, and this is part of what I do, is I work with people to stand up and stand out. That's not a mistake. That's stand up, put both feet on that bat, saying, you cannot pick it up. I will not pick it up. I can't even pick my own up and beat myself with it because I'm on it. And that's a process of standing up and plugging in your own power cord with both feet on the bat, saying, no, thank you. I don't receive that because I love myself.
That's
right?
beautiful. I love it. I love it. And I just want to share a little bit about something to complement to your book. I recently read this 4 Agreements. I don't know if you ever read that book. I'm sure you probably have heard of it.
I've heard of it. It's on my list, I think.
Yeah, Don Miguel Ruiz, which is so super relevant to what you are writing, because the first agreement, he said, is be impeccable with your word. And a lot of time people are casually throw out words like they didn't even think about they hurt somebody. The guy just probably did just, you know, I would say that he might meant it, he might not meant it, or maybe he just, you know, something he just throw it out. So he's not impeccable with his word. And the second agreement is, but you don't have to agree with it. See, I mean,
Right.
that's what the agreement is. The second agreement is don't take anything personally. And when you agree to it, you accepting it, and then you just re-chewing your own poison. You keep, even if
Yes.
you're not telling other people, even if you're not telling your friends or your moms or your sister, but you telling yourself, oh my God, I've gotta be careful. You know, I can't eat too much because that guy
Yes.
make a comment. So again and again, the poison is getting chewed, regurgitated and chew and regurgitate.
Yes.
So I think the second agreement is so beautiful. I mean, don't take anything personally. And a lot of time he was saying that even you say things to yourself, don't even take that personally with yourself.
Right. And I think the other thing is, and I do talk about this in the book as well, is that usually when someone comes to you with something like that, they're usually, you have to remind yourself that they are responding from where they stand. It's rarely about you.
It's
So if they're
reflection of
saying
themselves.
something
Yeah.
about how you look or
Right.
whatever, if they're usually saying I'm secure about how I think I look. That's usually what it is. They respond from where they stand.
Mm-hmm.
And that comes along with the awareness. So once you kind of get a hold of that, it's easier to understand where somebody might be coming from when they're saying something to you.
Right.
So an example of this is like, this happens a lot with older people, with little kids. So like I'm 55. So, you know, like if I had a grandmother that said, "Oh, your little fat cheeks are so cute. Look at those chubby little legs," or whatever, right? So not as fun to think, "Hey, little cute chubby cheeks," if you're telling me that now when I'm 12. Now I think I'm fat. You see, there's
But
things.
grandma, to grandma's eye, you never grow. You are always her. I mean, I'm
Yes.
looking at my 26 years old son, and I was like, "Ooh," and I gotta be careful what I'm saying because he's not a 3 years old anymore.
Right. And the thing is, if you were to ask those people, did they mean something
Right.
insulting by that? They would be
I
horrified. Like,
know.
absolutely not. That meant I
Right.
love you. You're adorable. But in our minds, see, we mess it all up.
Oh
And part of it
God.
is because we can each individually only operate and respond from where
Mhm.
we are.
Right.
So part of that awareness is just saying, you know, was that really about me, or was that them, you know, thinking I'm still the cute 3-year-old that they love, or 2-year-old or whatever in their mind? That's how
Got
they
it.
see me. But you know what? So that's all about how we see ourselves, and loving whatever way we show up. You know, I think in today's society, it's just become sort of a, with the keyboard warriors, you know, it's very easy to like say, "Oh, well, of course she's thin. She's got a personal trainer and a chef and a this and a that," or whatever, like as if they magically did it for somebody. You know, they
Right.
still put the work in. You're like, yeah, it's like, whatever. You know, like, why do people have, and it's something I fail to understand. I don't know why people go out of their way to point out things about other people, except to say that they're responding from where they stand. They feel less than in some area that they're
Mhm.
pointing to.
Mhm. I think a lot of time it's just I think we're gonna not take it to the grain of salt because whatever people say are the reflection of their own thoughts, like a
Exactly.
reflection of themselves. And maybe they are insecure and they feel like they have to put down somebody else, so they feel a little more powerful. Or maybe because they just being influenced by walking out from some condition that they saw and they're still lingering in that thought. So there's so many ways that I think as we get older, we get wiser in our thinking and our thoughts, right? So I think a lot of time women are very sensitive on commentary to another woman's or from a man, especially men. Sometimes they just shoot straight from the hip. They don't even
Yep.
go through their heart or the brain. Not offending men's out there. I'm not meaning it, but a lot of time, yes, your little comment can make a lady going on days thinking, what's wrong with me? Why did he say something like that? So
Yeah, and I think that's like a whole thing of empowerment training, I guess, if you will, and saying, let's just have everybody be a little bit more intentional. Like if
yeah,
there is in any relationship you have, even the relationship with yourself, what did you mean by that? Like, could you explain that? That
right.
is like a genius question. Could you explain that? Because
Is
here's
it true?
fill
Is
in the
it
blank.
true? Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you explain it? And is it true by the way that you're thought? It might not be true. It could be a whole lie that you're telling yourself.
Right.
And or you filled in the blanks, and this happens a lot in marriages and things like that, where you'll say something, they'll say, well, I didn't say that. I'm like, but that's how I interpreted it. And see, like, then that's back on me, because
Yeah.
if the words didn't say it exactly, then that isn't necessarily what it meant. And that comes back to you saying, I'm not sure what you mean by that.
Yeah.
That's
Stop,
a powerful thing.
stop
So
over
it owns the power.
analyzing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think another way to protect ourselves from bullying ourselves is that start to build up ourselves, to look, list all the good quality that we have. As we mature, I'm sure we can keep adding all the quality that we have. So that's the way we can build up. That we
Absolutely.
can
One of my favorite exercises to do with people, and I think it's just a really fun thing. It's an informative thing, but it's actually a very good learning tool for you, is for you to list, and I would love for the viewers to do this, to list the first 10 things that come to your mind that are uniquely you. So typically, like,
Yeah.
they're going to be like adjective words, like strong or caring or thoughtful or something like that, right? Just don't overthink it. Just write out the first 10 things, and then go to 5 people in your network and say, hey, I have a little question I'd like to ask you. Would you be willing to write down the first 10 things that you think of when you think about me? Now, here, it's not for comparison purposes. It is for the purpose of you saying, how do I see myself, and talk about myself as compared to how other people see me.
Yeah.
And then
I
see,
did that exercise once
yes, and
before,
then
and it's
compare
so
'em.
fun. It is so fun.
Absolutely. But the thing is, then what will happen is, see, like I just did this with somebody the other day verbally. And so I didn't I didn't say positive things either. I just said words. So, she said fat, like she was saying things like that. So, and her list was about 5 positive and 5 negative. And I said, well, let's just look at your words first off. And I said, so now this is for you just to have some thought around, right? So why did you lean to these things that were descriptive that were negative? Like, and these things are positive. If these things make you uniquely you, anybody can be fat. That's probably not accurate, right? I mean, you might have more weight than you want, but that doesn't really accurately describe you and your unique gifts and talents and who you really are. If I was introducing you, I would never say, hey, this is my friend so-and-so, and
Right.
she is fat and loves to smile. And I mean, we wouldn't say that.
Right.
So it's, part of the personal transformation that I love seeing is, especially with women, is being able to say what is true and factual about you without for 1 second feeling like you're bragging. Like I can say I'm a 2-time best-selling author, I'm a speaker, I love empowering people, and I help people stand up and stand out as the unique, unrepeatable miracle that they are. That is all accurate. Somebody could say that I'm bragging, but I'm going to tell you that's on them, not on me, because it's
Right. Exactly. I think we should able to be, like you said, not bragging and not tooting our own horn, but we should be able to comfortable to tell people who we are and what our gifts are. So not saying that, it's just like depending who is listening. And again, you can't form their opinion. They're entitled to their opinion. And the same thing with us. Some people say, oh, she said that she's a refugee, she's looking for sympathy and she's looking for things like, no, I just want to tell you who I actually was and who I am today. So it's a journey we took. And I don't want to just like make things up, because none of those make up stuff. They're all facts. So
And it's your story, right?
right. And we have
It's
to be
your authentic
comfortable.
story.
We have to be comfortable in our own skin. And that's the first step of self-love.
Absolutely.
That's
And
the
you know
first
what?
step.
If somebody can't come up with the 10, that's where we need to start. We need to start with, who am I? How am I uniquely showing up in this world? And by unique, I mean you are 1 in 412 trillion in your DNA. There's not a single person on this planet. There will never be another person on this planet while you are on this planet
Right.
that has your DNA. So if you don't think you're special, you have a problem, because
Not even your identical twins.
exactly. And they're not identical DNA either. That's the thing. And they'll have different likes and dislikes. Every single one of us has our own unique identity.
Right.
And when we feel most powerful is when we know what that identity is.
Yeah.
And when we know what that identity is and we can truly love who we are, like I always say, I can say, well, I could lose 20 pounds. I absolutely can lose 20 pounds. But I don't need to lose 20 pounds to be an awesome person.
In order to love yourself, you are loving you in any stage, right? You're not loving that skinny girl only. But that is so true. And I love that exercise. I encourage you to do that. I do that too. For me, it's a little different. I say that names 10 things that you love about yourself. Love about yourself. It doesn't even have to be unique, but like we all have something that we hate about ourselves. We can list like 100, but just find 10 things that you love about yourself. So
and here, I did this for a friend of mine the other day, and I had said something to him, and he said, wow, I really needed to hear that. So I stopped everything I was doing and made a graphic with his face. And I had asked him, tell me 10 things that make you uniquely you. And that, are really strong characteristics of you. And he told me, I made a graphic with his face that said, I am, and I put all these words on this graphic, and I sent it to him, and I said, lest you ever forget how important, how awesome you are, it's here in a graphic.
Right.
Post it where you can see it. He's like, oh my gosh. I'm like, we should all have that. We have to remember who we are. That's how we show up powerfully. And we don't feel insignificant because we know what our gifts are, right? We love who we are. Can we always grow? Absolutely. We grow and change every day. But the fundamental insides of who we are doesn't change that much. I don't think like if somebody is really funny, they don't usually become unfunny, and vice versa. I'm like, you have these innate characteristics that are yours, embrace them.
And I think even the flaws, even your mistake, you got to love them, because you got to forgive them, forgive yourself and love it and move on. Because if you keep holding on to those mistakes and say, oh, I beat myself up again with those guilt and shames and whatever, then you're going to get bruises all over years after years. So if we say that, okay, I'm a grown person now, I made mistake, but my mistake don't make me. So I am not the same person that I did, whatever mistake that I make. So just forgive that girl, that boy, that whoever, your youth person. And just like, just like you forgive your child, just move on. So thank you so much, Sherri. I think, we can talk for another 3 hours about this topic. it is such a topic that is an ongoing struggle for
Yes.
every
And
single
I
one
would
of
like
us.
to remind everybody that when you don't fully love yourself, it's incredibly difficult for the people around you and in your network and in your inner circle. I call it your farm, your friends and relatives matter. It's very difficult for them to fully love you because they can't outlove you. So the more you love yourself and you are in love with who you are, the more love you'll have in your life because they can love you at a higher level. They cannot outlove you.
And
So
vice
it's
versa too. And
you're
vice
constantly
versa
beating
too. If
yourself
you are
up,
not
that's what you're going to attract,
right.
right?
And I think, if you don't love yourself, it's very incapable for you to love other people too, because you can't give what you don't have.
Right. 100%.
So this is such a great topic. And if people want to find your book, where do they find that
They
book?
can go ahead and just type in the search bar on Amazon, what self-bullying, what to do when the bully is you.
What do you do when the bully is you? Just make a rap on that.
There you go. Nobody would want me rapping, but that's all right. And
Yeah.
actually, there's a wonderful technique in there. I hope people will pick the book up. That I teach how to teach yourself and how to teach your network so you can catch each other
Yeah.
when you're doing it. Instead of laughing with them, you can do this and you can actually snap them out of that behavior pattern.
Right.
And it's better for you and your network, your family,
That's
kids.
brilliant. I would say gather a couple friends, get the book and read, and then reinforce each other and help each other to
Absolutely.
grow that way. Nobody can beat you up. You cannot beat you up because your friend would not let you beat you up.
Right.
Thank you, Sherri. Thank you so much for sharing your book, your wisdom, and
My honor.
we really appreciate your time here.